the freedom from worry, the peace of being alone with their own thoughts, and a strong connection to their mom, dads, and friends. With digitalization, childhood has become a commercial commodity that lines the pockets of a few very wealthy people while leaving children in a universe filled with meaninglessness and madness. Teachers report that children can no longer handle unstructured recess. They are so inexperienced at playing that they become anxious, unsure of what to play, whom to play with, or whether the game might cross boundaries. We hear that children in early school years no longer get stories read aloud to them. They have become so accustomed to constant high-intensity simulation that they cannot engage in anything that moves at a slower pace. We need to fill the playgrounds again, and to do that, we must cleanse the water of pollution. This means these platforms should no longer be part of our children's lives as long as they're driven by bad market logics. We need to restore physical, analog life to our children's lives.
L'interdiction d'exposer les enfants de moins de 3 ans à des écrans, quel que soit l'écran, aussi bien la télévision, etc. Tous les pédopsychiatres sont tout à fait d'accord pour montrer à quel point c'est nocif pour l'esprit d'un enfant. C'est vrai que c'est sympa de donner à un enfant un portable pour qu'il joue, mais bon, ça fait du temps d'écran. Où il y avait l'enseignement était sur une tablette, ils sont tous en train de revenir au livre, parce que l'enfant n'assimile absolument pas de la même manière sur un écran et sur un livre. L'importance aussi de l'écriture plutôt que de taper. Ils ont besoin d'avoir toute cette... Nous, on l'a eu. Pourquoi on ne leur donne pas ça, hein? Parce qu'on se rend compte que ce n'est pas les mêmes méthodes d'apprentissage et ça n'est pas les aider de les confronter trop vite à un écran. Donc voilà en gros pour l'usage des écrans, comment nous en sommes. Pour les réseaux sociaux, alors, on a du mal, faire très attention aux métiers qui risquent de devenir obsolètes. Donc là, on prête une grande attention à ça. Donc, il y a une évolution permanente, ça va beaucoup plus vite que nous. Donc, une inquiétude, parce que moi, j'ai l'impression qu'on joue un peu aux apprentis sorciers. C'est très fort, mais on ne sait pas où on va. Et ça peut nous exploser à la figure. Donc, est-ce qu'il y a des solutions ?
I'm talking to you as a judge who has worked for many years in the family courts and as a mother and as a grandmother. In my day-to-day professional life, I often see children and teenagers who spend much of their time on their phone, sometimes 8 hours a day or even longer. And if they are staring at their phone, they are not playing with friends, they are not doing sports or spending time outdoors. I see parents who don't know how to limit their children's use of digital media. They just let them carry on for many different reasons. All over the world, people have come to realize that children are vulnerable and need special protection. We cannot and must not backslide on that now.
There is broad consensus in most of our countries, even countries that are quite split politically, that now is the time to make change happen. And we need to do that quickly because the threats that we have experienced thus far, I think, will pale in comparison to those that are coming down the line as AI takes hold of our societies. We may have different views in our countries on what constitutes freedom of speech and the acceptability of regulation, but we don't, as we've heard, have different views on whether we want our kids to be protected and to have the opportunities to live the good lives that we have had the good fortune to enjoy. I will say digital literacy is clearly important. We're working on it in Canada, but we can't throw the problem back at the kids. We have to take action.
I want to talk about the battlefield none of our defense ministers can fully map. It has no borders, no checkpoints, no uniforms. It is the screen in every child's hand. Digital life has given our children extraordinary opportunity, but it has also opened the door into their bedrooms, their friendships, their sense of self-worth, and sometimes into the hands of people who mean them harm. Content that ages children faster than they are ready for. These are not distant dangers. They live in every country represented in this room, in every household with a Wi-Fi password. As a mother, I believe our children should not be the unpaid test subject of products built to maximize engagement rather than support healthy development. Platforms must build child safety and well-being into their products from the start, not add it after the damage is done. Dear friends.
As a medical doctor and actually as a clinical researcher, as a father and as a grandfather of 6 wonderful young grandchildren, I want to put my emphasis on one specific point, and that is the development of the brain and mind of our children. Current use of media is heavily influencing the physiological functions of the brain. I recently talked to a teacher, and this teacher told me that only 50% of fifth grader are not able to run backwards. Can you imagine this? Something which was completely easy for us when we were in the past 2 years old. We cannot let the so-called social media let over control of our kids.
20 years ago, a new chapter, maybe the most consequential one in human history, began. Facebook entered our lives, soon followed by YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. It all started as a new way to connect people across distance, but gradually transformed the way we communicate, think, learn, and experience the world. Since then, the world has never been the same. Today, our children are growing up in a world without walls, a world where everything good and bad alike reaches them instantly, without filters and without warning, and we cannot protect them from it. That's why, as we continue our efforts to make the virtual universe safer, we must never forget that the strongest protection can be built on a screen. It must be built in the real world, in the family, where love, trust, and tradition are nurtured. In school, where critical thinking is developed. We should ask ourselves a simple question. What is the point of protecting our children from weapons aimed at their bodies if we leave them defenseless against the weapons aimed at their minds? The battlefield of the 21st century is not only physical, it is also digital. It enters our homes through the smartphone in a child's hand. It shapes attention, emotions, identity, relationships, and ultimately democracy itself.
It is a pleasure to be with you today and speak about something that touches me deeply. Our children deserve a digital environment as carefully protected as their physical one, free from predators, from harmful content, and from algorithms designed to capture their attention, rather than nurture their growth. We cannot afford to lose a single child to neglect, to addiction, or to a threat we failed to see in time. It is a generational challenge that demands the same spirit of partnership that brought us together today.
Thank you for the opportunity to discuss a topic that is important for all parents
and all countries today. Digital technologies are a natural part of our children's lives. They help them learn, communicate, create, and discover the world. This is therefore not about banning technology for children or cutting them off from it. At the same time, we must say openly that the digital environment is often not safe for children today. Our goal is not to reject technology. Our goal is technology to serve children, not for children to serve technology.
We all know all the typical threats, all the typical risks children face online. I just briefly remind you that there are behavioral risks include children engaging in cyberbullying, bullying their peers, or sharing intimate photos of themselves without understanding the consequences. There are consumer risks, include the economic exploitation of children, hidden advertising through influencers, manipulative user interfaces known as dark patterns, and exposure to online gambling. These threats know no borders. They are the same for children in every country. But the main conclusion is simple. Every child needs a circle of trust. We are also building a safety triangle: teacher, parents, and child. Our children deserve a digital world that opens up opportunities, not one that takes their childhood. This is the responsibility not only of parents, but also of society and of the companies that develop games and social media platforms.
Dear ladies and gentlemen, dear First Lady Emine Erdoğan, it's my pleasure to be with all of you and to discuss, for me as a mother and a doctor, one of the most important topics of these times. The world has, however, changed dramatically over the past 14 years. And our children are growing up in an era of digital transformation, one of the most significant social changes of our times. In the digital world, children today are losing touch with reality and with simple things that require years of effort to master properly. This can be changed through the satisfaction brought on by doing things ourselves and through the realization that simple things are often hardest to achieve, yet offers the greatest reward to those who make it them rather than buy them. Instead, children are drowning in a dopamine-driven world of instant gratification provided by TikTok and similar online applications. This digital addiction is changing children, leading them to reach for their phones more and more frequently. Our goal is not to take the digital world away from children, but it is to help them to grow up in it in a safe, healthy, creative, and responsible way.
Ladies and gentlemen, the digital world brings enormous benefits, as we all know. Young people use social media to stay connected, to socialize, to learn, to access information. For many children, the digital world is part of everyday life, and as we heard, more join every minute. In these times of online misinformation and disinformation, it's important that they grow up with the ability to distinguish fact from fiction, that they develop digital critical thinking skills. Tech providers, as Madame Macron mentioned, should play their part by implementing age-appropriate app designs and anti-addiction features. So ultimately, our goal is clear: to protect children in all digital contexts. We must ensure that children and young people are not left alone with harmful online experiences.
It's important to acknowledge that technology offers immense opportunities in education and across various other domains. When used correctly, it is a massive force for good. But we also share a deep collective anxiety over its impact on children's mental health, literacy, and cognitive development. But perhaps, dear all, the most concerning of all is how it threatens the development of human empathy. I truly believe in children reading books, playing music, and doing sports rather than spending their days and nights on screens, which by default leads to a dark space of solitude. Today, this solitude has reached a terrifying new frontier with the rise of artificial intelligence. In an era where everybody feels lonely and isolated, it is fundamentally unfair to ask an exhausted parent to tell their child they're the only one in the peer group without a smartphone. We owe the next generation the opportunity to experience a childhood alongside technology, not a childhood entirely consumed by technology.
I would like to express my gratitude and respect to the host country and First Lady of the Republic of Turkey, Emine Erdoğan, for the organizing the roundtable discussion on the protection of children in the digital environment. We all agree that the virtual world must be safe for our children and the wider community. In times when artificial intelligence challenges all societies, we have to be aware and crystal clear that our world will not become safe on its own without real will, without an initiative that will impact the world by empowering children, parents, and teachers to harness the potential of artificial intelligence. We are all facing fundamental challenge, and we need to unite international efforts as we do it continuously today.
디지털 기술의 빠른 발전은 우리 아이들에게 더 넓은 배움과 소통의 기회를 열어주었습니다. 하지만 동시에 유해 콘텐츠와 사이버 괴롭힘에 노출되고 또 과도한 사용에 따른 발달 저하와 정서적 불안까지 겪는 부작용도 낳고 있습니다.
To nie podlega dyskusji. Internet daje młodym morze możliwości. Pomaga zdobywać wiedzę, rozwijać zainteresowania, budować relacje. Niesie wiatr zmian, ale i zagrożeń. Hejt, manipulacja, dezinformacja. Treści, które ranią i uczą, jak ranić. Trzeba się temu mocno przeciwstawiać.
Today we must teach our children to stay safe even when they remain in their own rooms. Because the internet is no longer a place we occasionally visit. It is the environment in which our children are growing up. Algorithms often exploit the emotional and developmental vulnerability of young people, encouraging excessive use and reinforcing patterns of behavior that can develop into addiction. This reality leaves many parents overwhelmed with concern and feeling that they are neither strong enough nor adequately equipped to protect their children from the risks of the digital world. That is why parents need knowledge and support so they can have open conversation with their children about digital risks.